Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Weather has not cooperated with anything I've been trying to do. That's what sucks when you have a day job and no money as a YouTuber. You gotta kind of live with it. Today, I offer you nothing special, although it kind of is. So, this is my daily driver. Nothing really special by the looks of it. It's a 2007 Ford Focus SE. So, 2-liter, automatic, full of crap, beige. It looks like an old lady would drive this to, see, SE. Nothing special. It looks like an old lady would take this thing to the grocery store. But where I got it from is kind of interesting. If we open up this door, we'll see this. This is a number tag. It says A5 or A-8508. Now, these cars don't come with these number tags. This is a fleet car. I bought this thing at auction from the state of Connecticut. And I bought it for way less than what I could get at a dealership or something. It was, I think it was up for sale. They were clearing out their fleet of something. So I picked it up. It had, I think, 83,000 miles on it for $2,500. Pretty good deal, honestly. If you tried to buy one at a dealership, you'd probably pay twice as much. So, disregarding the fact that I got a good deal on it, I've owned this car for quite a while. And even though it is absolute mediocrity at its finest, it is still kind of special to me. You see, I work a long way away from home. Other people work further, but I drive 45 minutes to work and back. So you're thinking, you know, it's about 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on traffic, every day inside a car. This thing's been nothing short of a hero to me. It's gotten 30 to 35 mpg. Maintenance is cheap. Tires are cheap. I've even destroyed this car once on I-95 when somebody in a Mercedes decided that they wanted to brake check me, and I didn't realize that I had no ABS. None. None at all. And I didn't even know it couldn't come with ABS or without ABS. I thought that was a factory mandatory thing. I don't know. But I'll show you a couple of the details of why this thing has so much character. So as you could see in the early parts of the video, she's wrinkled up and cracked everywhere. There's a new nose on it. This is definitely not perfect either. Everything up front, hood I got from a junkyard, lights, all the front fascia assembly, all of the repair panels and everything, got off Rock Auto for whatever. I totaled this car. It was totaled. I rebuilt it because I loved it and it got good enough mileage for me to drive to work. Now, why am I making a video about a 2007 Ford Focus? Again, it's not the most special vehicle in the world. It's not anything special in particular. But to me, it's priceless because of how plucky this thing really is. And I also wanted to do a video as a cautionary tale. I do all my own maintenance on everything. Literally everything. I can rebuild transmissions, which you've seen when I revived my channel. I rebuilt the transmission. I can do front end work, rear end work, suspension, anything. You know, I'm not afraid to try anything. However, there's a saying that I live by, and that is, you get what you pay for. It's an old idiom. Everybody's heard of it, but you get what you pay for. And when it came time for me to put new rear brakes on this car because there's always been a brake shudder on this thing. Like the pedal always pulsates when you hit the brakes. So I tried putting new rear bearings and hub, because this is a drum rear, and the drum is essentially the bearing hub, and it goes onto the rear spindle on the suspension. That I would just go on, Rock Auto or wherever. I'd get a drum hub, whatever you want to call it, and I would just pick up whatever cheap bearings I could find. Again, you get what you pay for. And I paid for cheap bearings. And so now, a couple years later, the drums are still not even rusty because I threw like one coat of paint on them so they would protect them. But the bearings are making an ungodly amount of noise when I'm driving down the highway. Like, I've noticed that I've had to turn my radio up like 10 points higher than it usually is. And that's because there's so much noise coming out of the back end and the suspension of this car. It's unbearable. So I said, okay, here's a video I can shoot warning people of the dangers of buying cheap parts. So today I'm going to pull the rear hubs out of this car, and I'm going to take my press and I'm going to pull those bearings out, and I'm going to put good ones in, and then I'll report back to you on how much difference that makes. Just for reference sake, I figured I'd mention that I bought this car with 83,000 miles. It now has 218,000 on it. I just changed the oil and the spark plugs, and the oil isn't really burning. It doesn't go through anything. It doesn't go through coolant, it doesn't go through oil, it doesn't go through anything. I've swapped the tranny fluid and everything. You get in this car, you turn the key, and you drive it. It's just that simple, it's just that good. I think we're done for today. This is all normal if you live in New England. But what I did, I can't even get this thing off because the bearing is like frozen onto the stud here. But what I'm really angry about is, I looked back here. Wah wah. Yeah. That's gone from the wheel cylinder. The nut on the end of the brake line is just gone. Gone completely. Wheel cylinder, totally done. I guess that's gonna put us out today because I don't have those parts to fix it. So I'll be back. Very hard to film one-handed. The whole object of this video was to tell you about just the old idiom, you get what you pay for. And you saw how much time I wasted over here on this wheel and hub because of how cheap I was and the parts that I used, and that they were cheap and that I had to replace them again, and it was such a pain that it almost wasn't even worth it. So I bought one of these. No free ads, unless Craftsman wants to pay me. It's just a 5-pound slide hammer puller set, and I took off this side in about 5 seconds without having to take the backing plate or the stub off here. So instead of it taking like 2 days of me trying to put bolts back in where they came from and using a hammer and 2 pry bars and 2 days, like I said, to get the hub off the spindle so that I could swap the bearings, it took me literally 2 minutes with a slide hammer without ever having used one before. So again, you get what you pay for. So it's all back together. I did lie to you guys because I did actually have to take this whole thing apart. So I didn't bother filming that because that's boring. Not that this video isn't boring enough already. So the whole premise of this was to show you that buying cheap parts or cheap tools is really not the way to go. And I have proof of that right here in this bearing. You can see this bearing is only a few years old, but it is disgusting. It looks like it's spun in the drum. I don't even know if it did or not. It's rusted on the inside, and the dust cover was sealed perfectly with brand new dust covers on the hubs. And this one is all rotted and disgusting and falling apart. The other one cracked and broke. Then you go over here to these wheel cylinders. Those are not that old. Everything is rotted off. And I looked under the car and I thought to myself, damn, if this thing is this disgusting, how's the rest of the car? To be honest, it's really not that bad. So cheap parts will bite you every time just as bad as cheap tools. That's just the whole premise I got for this whole video. And this thing's about ready to go back on the ground, and I need it because I've been driving the Crown Vic all week to work. And even though I'm driving on the highway, man, that thing still stinks on gas compared to this thing, because this thing gets 30, 40 miles to the gallon if you treat it right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this old heat back on the road. So anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I do apologize to everybody who watches. You're watching a guy do things on his own. You're watching a guy do things without literally any money. You watch a lot of these big famous YouTubers, and their channel alone could fund everything that they want to do. And they supplement that with other things. And I don't have to go in the whole business for you, but I'm just one guy. I'm one guy with a GoPro and a cell phone. And I'm just sharing in my works with you all, and maybe we could all learn and entertain each other together. And thanks to those of you who subscribe. I appreciate it. If you like what you see, and this is all real, you know, tell your friends if you like what you see. Go back through my catalog. You'll see that I race and that I have some interesting projects. And man, I really got to apologize for the fact that my big project really got put on the back burner. I mean, the weather didn't cooperate, and then 3 of my cars have broken down. Well, 2 cars and a truck. The Crown Vic popped a radiator and some brakes, like the master cylinder. My truck lost a master cylinder. And then this thing lost the rear brakes and the rear wheel bearings. So, and the Saab's not registered, so I can't take that around. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for the lame content, but guys, if you knew what was going on with the fact that I have no money to do anything, then I'm just trying to put something out to entertain you. And I hope this was good enough. Maybe it's a lesson we can share with people who want to get involved in working on their own stuff, being independent. So I hope it was at least some kind of a help. But thanks you all for watching. I appreciate it.